Hello and welcome back to MSI. Today we'll be reintroducing the English alphabet as well as the IPA. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey Glenn, I already know the English alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Yes, that's great. You might know that and that is important. However, what's more important is that you realize that this is not an accurate representation of written English at all, and I'll explain to you why that is. English is considered a non-phonetic language. What that means is that a letter from a word does not represent a sound in the alphabet every single time. So it's not like Spanish where you can literally read what it is that you are reading and the word will be represented by the letters every single time. Now, of course, there are many examples in English of words that are phonetic. For example, level, bump, and paper. Those are phonetic words, which means that I can know the alphabet and I can read those correctly. However, there are a lot of other words such as though. If I was to read this phonetically, it would be pronounced tohogaha. And that's not correct. It's though. We have a TH sound and we have a GH sound at the end, which changes the sound of the word completely. Another example is future. If I was going to read this phonetically, it would be future, and that's not correct at all. It's future. The T actually makes more of a CH sound, and the E at the end is not pronounced. Another word would be phone. Phonetically, that would be pahone, which is not how it's pronounced. PH makes the F sound, and the E at the end is silent. So probably now you're thinking, huh, that is interesting. There are a lot of weird English words like that. So why is that? Why does English do that? Well, to answer that question, we really need to understand the history of the English language. And the history of this language obviously starts in a place called England, which we know today to be the United Kingdom, which is composed of England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales, and obviously English became the dominant language of this nation. This is a map of what Europe looks like today, but over 2,000 years ago, Europe looked like this. So this is around the year 40 BC. The Roman Empire is by far the dominant power in the area. In what is today Great Britain or the United Kingdom, we have a group of ununited or disunited Brittonic tribes. In what is today Germany, we have the same situation, but they're Germanic tribes. And to the east, we have a few nations as well called Thrace and Danica. And of course, the Romans, if you know your history, attempted to expand a number of times. Now, the Roman campaigns, they were sometimes successful, sometimes not. In Britain, for the most part, they were very successful, where in Germany they did have a lot of resistance. However, in those places that they conquered, the Romans introduced something to the area that they had never seen before, and that was written language. Although obviously many of these tribes and the Romans didn't get along all the time and often resulted in battle, but every once in a while they did actually have to talk to one another, and over time some of the tribes realized how valuable written language really was. So these other languages, they wanted to adapt their own writing systems. The only problem is that they didn't have linguists back in those days to create writing systems, so they would just use the letters that the Romans used, which they spoke Latin, so they used the Latin letters. So borrowing another language's writing system isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's just one problem, and that is that languages, especially different languages that aren't not even remotely related to each other, such as Latin and the language that the Britons spoke, which became English, they produce different sounds. And Latin uses the traditional A, E, I, O, U to represent the vowel sounds. And that's great, but in English, we have more than 25 different vowel sounds and only 5 letters to represent them. That's why I would like to present to you the International Phonetic Alphabet. We like to shorten it as IPA. In Spanish, it's known as Alfabeto Fonético Internacional. So the way that the International Phonetic Alphabet is organized is it is organized by the way that you move your mouth to produce a sound. Let's take, for instance, this chart here. Sounds like pa, ba, ma, wa. Those are all produced right around your lips. Whereas sounds such as ha or ka, ga, na, nya, those are produced a little further back, and so on. So it is very important that we understand where these sounds come from so we know how to produce them. So the International Phonetic Alphabet is very complicated, and I'm not going to expect you to learn it 100% because you're not a linguist. You're just trying to improve your American accent. However, to get you there and to improve that American accent, I will be referencing the International Phonetic Alphabet quite often, and you will see different letters from the International Phonetic Alphabet throughout the course. Throughout the course, you will be having different lessons that will pertain to whatever your class level is. However, between each lesson, I will be talking about a letter individually and how you should be moving your mouth to produce the sound that that letter actually represents. I hope that you learned something new today. If you didn't, I'm sure you'll catch on eventually because you're going to see a lot of these videos. Well, we'll see you next time. That's the end.